Chuck Mason, and normally Janelle Blue is with me, but Janelle is away. And we do want to thank the Mount Vernon Genealogical Society, who is our sponsor. And with me today is a good friend, Pat Stamm. Pat comes in about once a year, and she comes and visits us and does shows. Pat comes in from St. Louis. So today we're going to talk about some facilities that are not too far away from where we are here in Fairfax, downtown, the National Archives and the Library of Congress. And these are facilities that particularly new genealogists don't go to. They're intimidating, I think. I have done for years how to go research at these facilities, and particularly the archives. I have pictures, I have diagrams, and I've had people come back and say, as much as you prepared me, it was not what I expected. So,
well, and as you said, the National Archives has 12 branches across the United States. Yes. And one of the things that ends up happening is that each and every branch is a little bit different. Okay, their rules may be a little bit different and everything else. But you know, I really do like the NARA facility at College Park. The community calls it NARA 2. And we have a picture of it. It is a large facility, as you can see. And the next slide will show you how it is broken down, because there are 6 floors available to us. Now, Chuck usually does this a little bit differently than I do. I started off with level 1, the entrance, and that's where the registration is. And for us, who are always in need of food, it is where the cafeteria and the vending machines are. And please understand that the facility there has I shouldn't say this, but it has a better food source.
Yes, has from day one that it opened. Downtown, there used to be a fantastic place across the street, but that closed up a number of years ago, and now there's not a whole lot of food selections there. The cafeteria is okay, but I will say. But you know, there is 2 major differences or a major difference, I guess I should say, in the 2. You know, downtown is more the records of our ancestors. So that's where we're going to find the pension files and the other resources for our individual ancestors. And out at College Park 2, we will find government agency records and things that may have things about our ancestors. For example, out at College 2, there are the Civilian Conservation Corps camp records, but this is a camp. As I tell people when I talk about those records, you may find your ancestor's name in the records of the camp, but there's not going to be a file for him being at the camp. So that's the major difference between the 2 of them. One of the things just to point out, you know, traffic in Northern Virginia and DC area is a nightmare, but there is a shuttle that runs from downtown out to College Park. So if you don't want to drive all the way out there, you can take Metro downtown and take the shuttle over and get there quite easily.
I am sitting here smiling about the fact that you say drive out there as if it is so far. It really isn't that
It's
difficult.
Not that it's that far, but it's just the traffic is.
Yes, I can relate to that.
You have 2 choices. You either drive through the traffic through town, or you take the Beltway, and neither of them are easy anymore.
And I will say, from driving in myself, do try to leave there before 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, which is a little bit early, but that's okay. They do have a separate parking lot available to the patrons, and you can park there for free, which makes it a lot easier to be able to go in and whatnot. Now, the second floor is the floor that I use quite a bit. That's where the textural files are that we
Okay.
referred to. And if you want, we have a slide for that one. And on the one side is a part of a report from those CCC camps. And on the other is, you can probably not decipher it, but it is a onion skinned typed report for the Navy file.
Okay.
And in it, the gentleman was telling about his activities as he came out of World War II. Okay, as in a report to his superiors and going from there. But there's a lot of really great stuff out there on the textual files floor.
And you're talking about the Navy. When I was president of the Mount Vernon Society, my education chair had been in Vietnam. He was in the Air Force. And just like ships, the Air Force, the planes, they kept logs. And Bruce flew a number of really important missions in a part of that fight. And so he knew nothing about these logs being out at College Park until another member of the board, who was also in the military, took him out there because he found the log books from Bruce's missions. And Bruce is out there amazed. You know, he hadn't seen these books since he had written in them and signed off on them, but he was just amazed that, you know, his original log books were out there. So that's an example of something that relates to an ancestor, but it's not his individual records that are there.
And railroad accidents reports are also out there. Again, it does not list the name of the individual who was there, but it does talk about the railroad and the date of the accident and all of the events that led up to it to create this accident. Fantastic stuff. Now, the floor is maintained by some of the same regulations that you have down at NARA 1. You are only allowed one cart. You only take one box off onto your table. You do need a special permit to take photographs. And they do have machines on that floor for scanning documents as well as taking them over to a copier where you can put them onto a jump drive. So that's fantastic stuff. I always spend some time up there. Now, when I was up there recently, last week, one of the things that ends up happening with many NARA facilities is that they have scheduled pull times. At this point, and this is 2019 in November, they, for the textual files, did not have pull times. You would just take your request to the desk, and within a half hour, 40 minutes if it's lunchtime, they will have the records available to you.
That's one of the things that I've been going to NARA for probably 30 years, and you know, the rules can change from Friday to Monday, and so they do differ. One of the good things, if you have a researcher's card from downtown that works at College Park and vice versa, that doesn't always work at the regional facilities. When I went to the Southeast region down outside of Atlanta, I had to get a separate card when I went to that facility. So some things work and some things are different.
Yes.
So what are some of the other things in the building that...
Well, the other floor that I like, and we have a picture of it, is the still photograph floor. And in it, they have some really great pictures. This is a picture from the CCC camp. Now, again, it's one of the camps that they have. They do not have names on these individuals. They just have pictures from a specific individual camp. But they have pictures from across the world. It could be riverboats, it could be railroads, it could be just anything that would have to do with the government where they went in and took pictures.
The WPA is also another
Okay.
one that they have, and they have a lot of records out there. Again, nothing on individuals that were a part of that. So, and of course, downtown, like we said, they have a lot of the individual records. The censuses are still down there on microfilm, although most of us use them on one of the websites, Ancestry or Heritage Quest or Family Search. But sometimes you want a picture or a copy of it, and you can't always use what is on the websites of these other facilities. But the pension files, a lot of the early land records and things like that are down there. Again, the films of the ship arrivals, things like that are down at Archives 1 or downtown.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is that those microfilms stay downtown. Those microfilms are not out at NARA 2.
Yes.
Okay, so when you go out there, they do have a microfilm collection. They have an audio-visual collection. They have a video collection, but it is not, there's no cross purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just be aware of it. But they do have a Facebook page, and they also have a page on their website that tells a little bit about what kind of electronic sources one has over the other.
And one of the things that I say, if you're looking for your ancestor as an individual, it's downtown. If you're looking for the organizations, that they may have been involved in or may have had some contact with, then that's College Park. And
now, let's move on to the Library of Congress. Okay, you're much more familiar with this facility than I am. Please, we have another picture. I love this picture.
Yes.
This is the reading room.
This is the main reading room. Actually, the library consists of 3 buildings.
And that's our next picture.
This is the main reading room in the Jefferson Building, which is the original library. You also have the Madison Building, and then you have the seldom used by genealogists Adams Building. The main thing in the Adams Building, this is a business collection. It's only one floor that we as genealogists have access to, the 5th floor. But this is where I first started looking for funeral home directories, the National Yellow Book. They have a collection of those. They have a collection of other types of books like that. They have one for cemeteries. They have things on, various organizations. Lawyers belong to, or doctors belong to associations. So they have, again, not records on our individuals, but records about, and books and things about things that our ancestors were a part of. One of the collections, or it was a collection of books I found, it was broken up by every 10 years. The predominant occupations that people were involved in, and it went into a whole history of what was going on in the country and where people were employed a lot, and information about the building trades and things like that. I think it was a Time Life series or one of those types of collections, and it went into the 1950s or 60s. And so, not that I found a whole lot for my ancestors, but if I wanted history on something or background information on something that they may have worked in an occupation, it was a great collection. Going back to the Jefferson Building, the main reading room is a gorgeous room.
Yes.
There used to be, up until about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a genealogy and local history reading room. They closed that and moved that into the main reading room. You have the main reading room, which you saw the picture of, and then off of that, there are doors and there are alcoves to collections. And so one of those alcoves has the genealogy collection. And so there's a lot there. There is also one of those alcoves has all kinds of old city directories and telephone directories and things like that, not just for the United States, but for some foreign countries. So,
well, and adjacent
again,
to
it's
that
helpful.
is those in the alcoves. I was going to call them cubby holes. Okay,
They call them alcoves.
being very nice. They have the doors, and you go into the back rooms, and they have shelf upon shelf upon shelf about family histories and all sorts of things in there. Get to know the librarians. They become your new best friends. They can tell you where things are or how to get them or anything else.
Well, actually, there's something on the website that I discovered by accident, or mainly being lazy. I didn't want to go all the way down there and find we don't have that. So on the main library page, up in the right-hand corner, is a little box, Ask the Librarian. If you click on that, it gives you the various reading rooms, and you can click on the various reading rooms, and you can ask a question of the librarian, and they are very good about answering. My first time using it, I wanted to know, I had a cousin that died in 1960. I was trying to find out where was she buried. And I wanted to see if they had the Fort Lauderdale newspapers for August of 1960 so I could look up an obituary. So I knew they had Miami papers and lots of other papers, but I know they don't have everything. So I asked the librarian, what newspapers do you have for Fort Lauderdale for August of 1960? And the answer came back, we have the Fort Lauderdale something for a period of about 3 years in the 1950s. That was all they had. So I knew not to go down there.
Well, they also now have a webinar that you can go to. And I think that's on our next slide with the address for the webinars where they can go in and listen to the webinars before they go down.
Yes.
They have an online course, Researching Orientation to the Library, and it's right there on the front page. But that's not their only webinar.
No.
They have webinars consistently throughout everything.
One of the other things about the Ask the Librarian page too, there are 3 reading rooms that hold on a specific day for a specific time a live chat. One of them is the newspaper and periodical room. And so you can actually log on to your computer and talk to the librarians in the newspaper and periodical room. And they are begging you to do that because some days they have nothing. But the other resources
and here is a picture of the newspaper room,
periodical room.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is now where you can get your Library of Congress card.
Yes.
Okay, and you definitely want to get a Library of Congress card because it's available to you for 2 years, and then with that card you can go into a website called Haiti Trust. HATHITRUST. And with the Haiti Trust, it is various universities that are digitizing a lot of their collection.
Yes.
Now, because the Library of Congress is one of the members of Haiti Trust, you can download the entire version of the book that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And great stuff, absolutely great stuff.
The other room that people do use across from the main reading room in the Jefferson building is the electronics room where they have computer resources and all. That is also where they have some microfilm and microfiche of things like old city directories. Those are the main rooms that I know genealogists use in the Jefferson building. Then in the Madison building, there is, as I mentioned, the manuscript collection. And again, I had some one contact me. They were looking for a couple of documents that were cited that were in the manuscript collection. One of them they're related to, I've lost his name, Andrew Jackson, when he was president. And there were 76 boxes in the collection.
Oh my.
So I wanted to know, and I asked the librarian, what do I need to do? What hoops do I need to jump through to get access to these boxes? Because again, not everything is stored on site, and I wanted to check that out. And I had them come back and say, we will check. Well, they checked the boxes that were referenced in this article and 8 other boxes, and they did not find these documents. So they invited me to come down and look at the other 66 boxes. So they ask or answer those kinds of questions can be helpful. Around the corner from the manuscript reading room is the newspaper and periodical collection. They have lots and lots of newspapers. Now they don't have everything, but they do have lots of newspapers going back at least 300 years. Most of it is on film, but they do have some things that are original. Periodicals also, they have the current ones available you can look at, and they have others in other formats. So
and they're updating their Chronologically America website, which gives you a lot of information that you can, again, do in your bunny slippers at home.
And, access to pictures and things like that out of newspapers. One of the other things that they have is a series of books that were done, broken down by state, then by county, then by cities, and tells you, was there ever a newspaper published in that city, when it was published, name changes, things like that, and usually references to where you can find it, because like I said, they don't have everything. Now, some of that is out of date because collections change in various facilities, but it is just a great resource. I don't have to go all the way to New Jersey or Pennsylvania to look at newspapers. Now, some I do, but I always start with the Library of Congress newspaper collection because it's close to me. I just have to hop on Metro and go down there.
Now, one of my favorite rooms in the Madison building, is the maps collection. And we have a picture of a map that came from the maps collection. I love that right outside of the map collection room is a big, huge globe. Okay, I can always find the collection based on that globe. But this is a picture of the Patents and Northern Neck grants of Fairfax County, Virginia. And I found that many, many years ago. And what it did was, it's a plat map that would give all sorts of good information. When you go in there, you only see the tip of the iceberg as such, because there is basically 3 acres of material behind the floor, behind the walls that you don't see. A number of years ago.
Unless you go on a tour.
Well, I have never been fortunate enough. One of the things that I ended up doing is my grandfather was a poor farmer in Queen Anne's County, Maryland. And he ended up getting from Queen Anne's County up to Wilmington, Delaware, which was about 50 miles. And based on the fact that he did not have any kind of money, he did not have a horse or anything else like that, or a car back at those days, I could never figure out how he made it from Barkley, Maryland, all the way up to Wilmington, Delaware. Well, I ended up pulling out a plat map for Queen Anne's County, Maryland. And on the plat map, it showed where the railroad lines came. And right through Barkley was the railroad line that went up to Philadelphia by way of Wilmington. And so now I have my answer. It's not a definite, because of course railroads didn't have passenger lists, but it gave me a good indication.
It's the most likely source.
Yes.
He had two alternatives, either that or he walked it.
Right. And that was a good 50 miles, so I know it wasn't a walking. But there is so much there in the newspaper, or in the maps collection.
Now, I found I had my second great-grandmother's first husband was killed in a battle, Civil War battle down near Richmond. I couldn't find much about this battle. They had huge maps of the battle. I walked out of there with the 3.5 day battle, so it was a map in the morning, the afternoon, on copies of those maps plus another map, and there were several other maps in the folder. I had a Civil War buff friend who found a little paragraph in one of his multiple book collection on that battle. That was it. So there's a great deal down there. There are many, many other reading rooms that relate to various topics. There's a European one, there's a room on music, We've only talked about kind of the tip of the iceberg for us as genealogists, but it's one of those things, just go down there and just start exploring, but don't be intimidated because they are down there, they will help you.
And the great part about it is it's right there on the metro line.
Yes.
Okay, so you can take the metro down.
Metro for both archives downtown and our Library of Congress. That's the way to go transportation-wise. And also, since we talked about food at NARA, the cafeteria on the 6th floor of the Madison building is good food for the Library of Congress. So, well, Pat,
but they do have a Subway down in the basement.
Okay. Well, Pat, thank you very much for coming in and visiting with us and talking to us about the research facilities and things that you've explored.
Okay.
I'm sure that it is always helpful to our viewers.
I enjoy it, and it's fun to come back and visit and use another facility. Thank you.